Hey everyone, I hope you are doing great. Today, in this episode of series A for accessibility, I'm going to talk about disabilities and assistive technologies. So, let's get started. So, let's talk about users and disability. There are different types of disabilities in this world, and as per WHO, World Health Organization, almost 15% of world's population lives with some form of disability. There are different kinds of disabilities and they are broadly classified into auditory, visual, motor, cognitive. So, whenever we are creating something, the best approach to make it accessible to everyone is to think beyond just what our abilities are, or think beyond what we might have seen to be happening very common. For example, let's say I always use my mouse, and the other people who I have met, they also use only mouse, like mostly mouse, to access things in this on the websites, any website. So whenever we are creating something, what we normally test using just mouse. So if we haven't been exposed to different ways in which people can use the websites and applications, then we will not know that there are different ways that exist, right? So the key point here is that we also need to explore and learn what are the different ways or what are the different devices and technologies that users can use to access the web. So these are called assistive technologies. So before moving into that, I would like to also take a moment to talk briefly about some of the common disabilities. So there could be a broad spectrum of disabilities. So for example, if we take visual disabilities, so people with visual disabilities or impairment will include people with complete blindness. They could also have partial blindness, low level vision, color blindness. There are many people with visual impairments who might be using screen magnifiers or zoom capabilities in your software or in the browser. Some users will also rely on assistive technologies called screen readers, which is a text to speech format wherein the screen reader or the voiceover reads out the content on web to the user. Next, let's talk about auditory disabilities. Deaf and hard of hearing people have various levels of hearing loss, ranging from mild to severe and profound. So, users might be using assistive technologies. So, to provide access of content, we need to provide some alternatives. For example, if we have some media content, let's say we have a podcast, audio content, then we must provide transcripts. So, if they cannot hear or they have difficulties in hearing, they could still read the content and understand that what is the content. Then, if you are creating any video, then video should have closed captions. Now let's talk about mobility disabilities or impairments. So these disabilities which concerns movement, it might involve purely physical issues such as loss of a limb or paralysis, or it could also be neurological or genetic disorders that leads to weakness in the limbs or loss of control in the limbs. Some people might have difficulty in making the required hand movement to use a mouse, and there could also be users who are so severely impacted that they need to use some sort of switch or pointers to interact with computers. I will share some of the links in the description wherein you can go ahead and read more about these different kinds of disabilities and see what are the different ways in which disabled users interact the web. The last type of disability which we are going to talk about today is cognitive disability. Cognitive disability refers to a broad range of disabilities. It could be from people with intellectual disabilities, and it also includes people with depression and schizophrenia. It also includes people with learning disabilities like dyslexia and ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So there is a lots of diversity in this set of cognitive disabilities. They might experience similar set of functional problems, and this includes difficulty with understanding content, remembering how to complete the task, and confusion if the things are not consistent in the web page layouts. There is a specific section on w3.org website on how people with disabilities use the web, and I highly recommend going through different sections on this page and explore. There are the stories of users, stories of people with disabilities, how they are using web, and it highlights the barriers and its effects on the users. So I highly recommend again to go ahead and check this out. I will put all the links in the description below. So let's talk a bit about assistive technologies. So any device like computer or anything else, they mostly have something called an input and an output. So assistive technologies are also a set of technologies or software or hardware whose main function is to take some input and provide some output. So it is actually a sort of a bridge between a user and the device. So whatever is there on the web, that assistive technology acts as a bridge between that and the user, and it lets the user know what's in that web, and it helps them in interacting with the web if they want to perform some actions. So the most common assistive technologies when we talk about disabilities and accessibility are, first of all, keyboard. Lots of users use keyboard. Then there is something called a switch. Then there are screen readers. And actually every operating system or every device that you will have, it might also have an inbuilt screen reader. So there are voiceovers and talkbacks on your Android device, your iOS device. In Windows also there is a Windows screen reader. Then in Mac we have a voiceover. And then there are some softwares which we can install, like there is NVDA, there is JAWS, there is Orca for Linux, and so on. So there is also something called eye tracker. What they do, that the camera is used to track the user movement of eyes, and it navigates the screen accordingly. And then there are speech recognition softwares. I'm sure you must have used Siri or OK Google, Alexa, and so on. What they do, you give them some voice instructions and they perform action based upon that. Then there are screen magnifiers. So in browser or even on your operating system on system, you normally have the option to magnify the screen. Assistive technologies give people access to web, which otherwise they might not have been able to access. But they can only help the users to a certain point. If we have proper design and we have coded it in a right way, then only those softwares will be able to understand the content and successfully translate it or successfully relay that information to the users. So we have a huge responsibility on us as creators, as developers, designers, product owners, or any member of the team. So that's all what I wanted to share for today's video. I would like to end by saying making our websites and products accessible to everyone starts with learning and understanding how different people can use our website or our products, and ensuring that whatever we create is inclusive. Thank you for watching this video. I hope the content was helpful for you, and you can share this content with others if you think that it is helpful. See you in the next video. Bye.